Welcome back to the Hive. It's another Honeycomb segment.
It's all you.
Yeah, I know. I enjoy doing these. I really do.
The queen bee and all.
Well, this one is going to be, it's another near and dear one to my heart. But I want to start by asking, I guess, you a question, and I'll divulge about myself as well. What are some of your scars, and where and how did you get them?
Oh, okay. So I'll start with the very first scar I ever had. Wow, I'm not even wearing my headphones.
Oh.
You know where they are?
Oh, my.
Oh, there they are. All right, so I'll start with the very first one. It's on my hand. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. Can you see it from there?
Mm-hmm. It's like a line.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like almost like a moon shape. I want to say about 7 or 8, and I ran up the face of a rock and then ran down it and then fell on the ground because it was so steep. It was like a big, this is in New Hampshire, so we're talking granite rocks the size of buildings, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, at least it seemed that way. Mm-hmm. I was also probably 2 feet tall. I represented the lollipop tree.
Hard time.
So I ran up to the top of the thing, tagged it, and then ran down. And when I ran down, I remember this pain in my palm, like, ow! Like I landed on a rock, but I didn't think anything of it. Went to go run back up the rock, and my friend behind me says, "Gross, there's blood everywhere." And I turned around, and I was like, ah! And I ran back to you know what? My babysitter stopped babysitting me because of that. That's facts.
First of many, I'm sure.
That's facts. She stopped babysitting me because of that. Like, I can't handle this kid. He's too crazy.
No.
But yeah, I had to go to the hospital, and I had, I think, 7 or 8 stitches put in. I could probably count the holes. I think it's 7. Do you want me to tell you more?
Sure, a couple more. Just a couple.
My appendix.
Okay.
Okay, that's a scar. Mm-hmm. My knee surgery.
Of course.
You know that. My ankle surgery. My hip surgery. My shoulder surgery.
Your hernia surgery.
My hernia surgery. My appendix surgery. I mean,
you already said that.
Come on, man. I'm a veteran. I got the frequent flyer card for surgical procedures.
That's
Is
true.
this going somewhere?
We're
just trying to humiliate me.
No.
Look how synthetic he is.
No, we've talked about that before.
Hey, my lips are still real.
Yes, that's okay. Anyway, moving on. Some of my most memorable scars that I have, I was jogging once on the trail that's nearby, and it's gravel. I think it might be paved now, but I tripped because I was just at that point where my legs were really tired, and I went right down, whack, on my knee. And there was one of those triangular-shaped stones on the trail that my knee just went right down on, and the next thing I knew, I'm just like you, I'm like gushing. And so I had a mile between the point that I fell to my apartment.
Oh, nice.
And I had no cell phone. So I had to do nothing except hobble
You left a nice
last
trail
mile.
of blood.
I mean, it was running down my leg.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I remember that was literally the first time I got stitches in my life. And I was in my 20s. And it was right on my knee.
Where's B? Just follow the trail.
Just follow the trail of blood. Yeah, I know. And I got several stitches, and they healed in the shape of a smiley face. It's like an upside down smiley face because it was like a
silver lining.
I mean, we could call it a silver lining. Of course, I had chickenpox when I was a teenager, so I still have scars from some of the chickenpox.
Don't you and I have
on my
one
face.
in the same spot?
No, mine are like here and here and here.
I have one in the corner of my eye right there from a chickenpox.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not surgery, but most of us have at least 1 or 2 chickenpox scars if we've had it. And I would have to say probably my most memorable scar would have happened, like a year ago? We were putting the greenhouse together, and I lifted 2 very heavy tiles, like ceramic or stone
terrifying.
tiles. And they say do not lift by the straps.
Do not lift by straps.
Yes.
You know, the little plastic straps.
The plastic straps that come around 2 tiles in each. I mean, they probably weighed, 50 pounds? The 2 together?
Oh, yeah.
And
easy.
I had shorts on and tennis shoes, and as I got it lifted up, the straps broke. After 12 trips of no breakage, that one decided to break, and it went right down on my the front part of my shin.
After 12 trips of disobedience, finally,
Yeah, that was a definite trip to the urgent care because I could see all the way almost to my bone.
Stop. I remember I was there.
I couldn't drive. You had to drive me there. But
it was so bad.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you about that because it lends into the question that I'm going to get to. And the second part of it is, what about emotional scars? We all have visible scars from things that we've been through. But when we have an emotional scar, we don't wear it proudly like a smiley face or a gash that we have, right? We hide it and we have it come out in different ways of almost like PTSD. And some of us tend to put up walls around our heart. We become less vulnerable. We get anxiety. We become depressed. And lots of other forms of negative thoughts and behaviors kind of follow that up.
Well, see, I think there's a lot of difference between physical scars healing up and not hurting anymore over time. And emotional scars, if we don't go through the proper necessary dressing, they still hurt years later.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We go through things, or we'll go through something similar later down the road, and we never properly dealt with the first thing, and it just dredges up that feeling, and we're just like overwhelmed, and we don't understand why.
Absolutely.
Why am I so overwhelmed when somebody passes away? Well, maybe I didn't deal with somebody else who passed away, or maybe I never fully got, you know what I mean? How you
Why
go
am I
through
so
the
brokenhearted
procedure.
over this breakup? Maybe I'm not
There you
dealing
go.
with rejection that I had in the past.
There you go.
Yeah, there's
She
all
says it
kinds
better
of
than me.
situations that we can get into.
That's why
that
it's her podcast.
there are definitely emotional triggers. But the reason I'm talking about scars is that is today's topic. I want to talk about scars and how they can be beautiful, not in the form of a physical scar being, a fun story, but the emotional scars that we hold. And where I want to go with this is I'm going to hold this little object lesson up. Hopefully you can see it okay.
Ooh, yes, I remember this.
So for those of you who might know what this is a bird, as you can tell, blackbird, but it's actually got all of these lines all over it. And these lines are because at one point this bird was broken. There is a Japanese art form called kintsugi. There's a really excellent book on it. I will do a little plug for it. Not that I can vouch for it. I have not read cover to cover, but this tells you what it is. And basically it is a centuries-old Japanese art form. The word kintsugi means golden joints. You can tell this is kind of golden
I
color.
wish I had golden joints.
Right?
I've had a couple replaced now. It'd be cool.
Maybe when you're
At least that way, after I'm gone, you can cash me in for something.
titanium.
Cha-ching.
Well, anyway, when it comes to kintsugi, it's basically breaking pottery. So at one point, this was a perfectly good bird. It was just a whole bird made out of ceramic, but it had to be broken. And after it was broken, it slowly got put back together with resin-dusted precious metals. Typically gold, platinum, or silver are used, but gold is most readily used. And when the piece is completely mended and put back together, it becomes a work of art with shimmering veins connecting the broken shards. It sees and celebrates the imperfections. It highlights the beauty in the flawed and in the imperfect. The scars convey that the broken and repaired objects are not something to hide, but to display with pride.
Yes.
And that rhymes, so you know it's true. And the kicker is that in the end, this pottery is worth a lot more. It's highly valuable, a lot more than it was to begin with. Why? Because of the gold dust that it's put together with. And so in that, I wanted to talk about how we all have emotional scars in our lives. We have chapters of our lives that we kind of wish we could just get rid of or rewrite them. Very common. And it's precisely those ugly chapters of our lives that define who we are through the struggle and help our story develop the character that we are in it. And we all know that no two stories are the same. No two people live the same life. No two people have the same scars.
No two dish can break the same way.
Exactly. No two pieces of kintsugi are identical, because when you take that pottery and you throw it down and break it intentionally,
Take that.
every piece has to slowly be scooped up, and then you have to give it time. You don't just glue it all together in one day with super glue. You're delicately putting each piece back where it belongs, and you're waiting for it to cure, and then you can move on to the next. So there's this patience throughout the art form of kintsugi that is so indicative of healing from our emotional scars.
I love it.
We can't pick up all of the pieces at once. God helps us put those pieces together when we look to Him for meaning and we look to Him for support.
Amen.
And we heal in the pace that we are meant to heal in. Nobody can rush that along, and God certainly doesn't say, do it faster, do it better. Quite the contrary, Jesus in His humanity knows what we suffer. He wept when Lazarus died. He dealt with every single emotion that we have. He understands, and He is our advocate in going to the Father and saying, a little more time is needed. Not quite ready yet. So we all have
That's amazing.
I love that, right? and in line with the chapters that we want to get rid of, I want to say all of us have fairy tales that we enjoyed when we were young. So what was the favorite fairy tale, if you had to pick one when you were a child, that you really just loved?
I already said Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yes, Jack and the Beanstalk. Mine was a tie between Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella. I always loved Cinderella's gowns. I thought they were gorgeous.
Every girl did.
Every girl did, and I loved the fact that she was just this kind of frumpy servant girl, and she gets to be a queen for a night, if you will. And in Beauty and the Beast, I always loved how studious Belle was. She was a smart girl, but she looked at the heart of people.
Right.
She didn't look at the outside.
You're good at that.
Oh, well, thank you. But those were my two stories, and I loved it when I would watch the Disney versions of them brought to life. I'm sure Mickey is the Jack and the Beanstalk story I'm
Always.
most familiar with, right?
Unfortunately, Mickey ruined my Jack and the Beanstalk forever. I will never not see that giant and Mickey like running in his ear. It's like, you just went in his ear, man.
And the
Gross.
giant at the top. Fee, fi,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, imagine that. Well, the thing is, if you stop and think about your favorite childhood story, there's a couple of different places you can go. First, you want to evaluate the stories and define the main characters. So, Jack and the giant, Jack, basically.
Jack, yeah.
In mine, it would be Belle, probably the Beast, and then we would have Cinderella as a main character. Who are the villains?
The giant would be.
In Beauty and the Beast, it would be really the Beast at the beginning, but then it kind of morphs, and the villain ends up being Gaston and the villagers.
Right.
In Cinderella, the villain is the evil stepmom and the evil stepsisters. So, I think that's all in that one. The hero in Jack and the Beanstalk
Was Jack. Yeah.
The hero in Beauty and the Beast ends up being the Beast, really. He turns from villain to hero.
Right.
And
that story is really unique.
It is. Yeah. It is really unique. In Cinderella, the hero would end up being the prince, I think. But there's actually, I think the fairy godmother plays a little bit of a heroic role. Some of my friends, when I talked about this at first, were like, what about the mice and the birds? Well, they helped get her ready.
Well, 3 of them ran up the clock.
They deserve credit somewhere.
The clock struck one and killed it.
Anyway, then you want to take a look at what was the plot twist that made the story interesting. So for Jack and the Beanstalk, what was the plot twist that made the story interesting for
when
you?
The giant chased after him after he stole or took the golden egg and was going down, and he's chopping the beanstalk down frantically.
Sure, because then you're wondering
save
what's
his own
happen.
rear end.
Mm-hmm. In Beauty and the Beast, I would say the plot twist that made it interesting was when Belle got imprisoned instead of her dad. You're kind of thinking, how's this going to go? And then slowly as she's there, you start to see the bestial side of the Beast soften.
The bestial
side softens. In Cinderella, I would say, obviously, when she goes to the ball, that's a plot twist. She drops her shoe. So now you're like, we know that she's got to be found, right? So the overall conflict in the story of Jack and the Beanstalk.
The original conflict was he has very little to deal with, and he invests something out of his own desire, out of his own imagination. He's like, I believe in this thing, and I'm gonna buy it. And he plants the beans. His mother, it becomes sort of a villain in that sense, like, how dare you traded our cow for beans, and then magic happens, and there's this magical beanstalk, and he's like, oh wow, and he climbs the beanstalk, not really knowing what he's gonna find up there, and he discovers this whole magical kingdom and this giant that chases him, and so in the end,
how it's resolved is?
It's resolved by him chopping down the beanstalk. The giant falls to his death, because we all know the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Gravity wins.
Gravity always wins.
Yes.
Always.
Gravity always wins.
Always wins.
Yeah. Overall conflict in the story of Beauty and the Beast would definitely be the conflict of Belle being imprisoned, then being released to go be with her sick dad, and she has to make this choice. Is she going to abandon the Beast, who seems to be somewhat nice, and they're having a nice time together, almost looks like they're falling in love, or does she go back to him and rescue him from the townsfolk? And of course we know how it ends. She runs, but it's kind of a little too late. Townsfolk kill him anyway, however, not before the last petal fell, so
I actually did not know that.
Yes, they do. They win. Gaston actually is the one that kills him. Yeah.
Disney, shows that?
Yeah, unfortunately. And Gaston was also vying for Belle. He was in love with her, but she was not in love with him. He was the big brute that was just, too
So they kill the beast.
The Gaston ends up killing basically
I thought they
injuring
banished him or something.
injuring him enough to kill him, and at the last minute the beast kills Gaston. Gaston falls to a very untimely death, and the beast kind of lets out his last breath as he's looking at Belle as the last petal of the rose falls, and then because true love happened before that petal fell, he's brought back to life. He's reincarnated,
okay.
and Belle and the beast are able. He transforms back to the
That
prince
makes
he
it all
was.
better.
Yeah, so it's a happy ever after ending. In Cinderella, obviously, the conflict was that the stepmother and the stepsisters all wanted to be married to the prince. The shoe didn't fit. It only fits Cinderella. Therefore, she gets to go marry the prince, and they live happily ever after. So,
I see a theme here.
In all of that, the stories that we both kind of liked growing up. I mean, I had two. You had the one main.
I think Jack lived happily
happily
ever. That's all, folks. He lived happily ever after.
I believe
because he had a big giant golden egg.
Right.
It's probably worth like $18,464,224. At least in today's economy.
And 22 cents.
There you go.
Yes. So, as we take a look at our childhood stories, the remaining question is, all of those things need to happen. We need a hero. We need a villain. We need a conflict. We need a plot twist. We need a resolution. All of these facets to a story, we fell in love with them at a young age for a reason. And if you look back on your favorite childhood story, do you see any parallels between your life and how it's going in the fairy tale that you resonated with? I know I see many in myself. I do believe I see a parallel between Cinderella and myself in becoming that queen, that I know God has put that precious crown on every woman's head. That we are a queen in his kingdom. We are his precious creation. And I'm starting to see that more. And also, I've always been kind of a Belle. I take a look at people and I fall in love with their hearts more than what they look like.
Oh,
so
I'm glad.
I see a lot of parallels in that side of it too. So I know for you've spoken of Jack and the Beanstalk being a parallel to how your imagination has
Absolutely,
driven your life.
my imagination. My entire life, it's been something that's driven me. It's been something that was pushed down. And they literally tried to get it out of me when I was young because, class clown, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on in life, it's funny because I always had this dream of getting into radio. And so radio became something I pursued and then entered into the radio field. And then suddenly, my sense of humor became the way people actually took me seriously.
Sure.
So that deep-seated message down in my heart, that cry for people to understand the things that I've learned and understood about my Savior, as that's grown in me, I've had the avenue to be able to relay that to other people through radio, and God's just granted me that, and I've just had the most blessed life. And then now here with this is just what we're doing. Yeah, it's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, it happens to be what you want to do, and I'm just loving doing it with you. So
yes, absolutely. Well, to make this tie home, I know there's a lot of parallels we can draw with our emotional scars and our stories that we all have, but it's really important to share your scars, your stories with other people, because just like these kintsugi pieces that are there's no two alike, there's no two people alike. There are no two people that have the exact same story of things that they've been through, but you know what? We all have similarities, and we all have struggles that we've been through that we can identify with and relate to. Things like divorces, things like parenting struggles, things like grief in losing people, even miscarriages for those that have tried to become a mother and not been able to. There's so much pain that's in that. And that's why a lot of times they have support groups for this kind of thing.
Right.
And because people go to support groups that have been through that, they don't...
Especially people who have been abused.
Right. They don't bring in somebody who doesn't know what that's like, because there's this, might be some sympathy, but there's not the commonality of the compassion, of the understanding. And again, Jesus experienced everything. Nothing was foreign to him when he got into human form on this earth to be God incarnate. He experienced everything we can imagine and is in heaven now, continuously advocating with God the Father, saying, I understand this, and because I died and I'm declaring this child of mine righteous, hear their cry, listen to their plea. And so I want to leave you with a couple of final thoughts. 1 Corinthians 13:12 says, now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. So when things look like, I don't know if I can get past this, this is a really bad hurt, we can all focus on the fact that we don't see the end of our story just yet. We are in a chapter, and we're going to get through this chapter however long it takes us. And for some of us, it's going to be longer than others. I think of the popcorn kernels, you put them all in the same environment, but they don't all pop at the same time.
Wow.
They have
That's a
everything
good example,
identical,
yeah.
but each kernel's going to pop in its own time. So give yourself grace. Allow yourself to heal in the amount of time that you need, and then find those people that God brings your way that can share the pain and help share one another's burden, and they can encourage you to get through it. Nancy Lee DeMoss had a great saying that I want to leave you with, and that is, what we see now is not the whole story. If we could see what God sees and know what He knows, our hearts would be at peace. I hope that encourages you, because that's just a little honey from my hive, and I hope it sweetens your day.
God bless you.